Hey everybody, Dean Spillane Walker here with our little organization, Living Resilience Alliance. Um, just talking with my creative partner, Carolyn Baker, uh, who I just appreciated so much working with Carolyn for the past 3 years, putting together this kind of collapse-aware material and doing online and live coursework and so on. So I'm just feeling a bit of a special appreciation for Carolyn right this moment, but that's not the primary reason why I'm doing this video. I wanted to share with you, had an interaction with a very good friend of mine. He's a indigenous elder here in the West Coast of the USA. And we were both at a conference, and that conference was about a number of different kinds of awakening and learning and growing that none of which were particularly easy, but all of which are very, very important about human beings becoming more awake, aware, present in life. And the one thing he said that just rocked me was, he actually said it to the whole room. He said, "I hope you people will see what an opportunity that you've got." I said, I'm not going to be quoting him directly, but it was something along the lines of, do this inner work while you have the time and there's some semblance of normal going on in our world. And it's really stuck with me, and I want to say that again, relay it to you, and hopefully it will have as much impact on you as it did me. And there's a few things I'd like to tell you about in light of that. Carolyn and I have been putting together basically the most powerful pieces we can find that help people to learn and grow and hopefully be resilient and even thrive in the face of a predicament-laden world. And both of us are seeing that there's just an extraordinary acceleration at every level, whether you're talking politics or cultural breakdown or collapse of human systems or collapse of Earth systems. They all appear to be accelerating. And in light of that, we want to just recap some of the things that we're offering that we find extraordinarily important right now. The first thing I wanted to mention was about the trauma summit that we've got coming up in September. It'll be one of those online summits where you can participate live on any of the Monday or Wednesday evenings of September, or if none of the dates or any of the dates don't work out for you, it's recorded and you'll be able to watch it for months and months after the event to your heart's content. We have some extraordinary guests. We have Lisa Van Susteren, who's a remarkable public health professional, a psychiatrist, who has done extensive writing and research about climate change and other environmental stressors and how that will affect our collective and individual mental health. We have Derek Jensen speaking up about how trauma is an appropriate frame to be seeing the world through. And of course, he's been so brilliant at doing that for decades now in his writing. We have Jack Adam Weber will be on, and an extraordinary poet and also an extraordinary thought leader in his own right. And coming out of freshly having his home destroyed in the Big Island of Hawaii and the volcanic eruption that's gone on there, his home was one of many that were destroyed in that eruption. We have Francis Weller, who will be speaking, and each of these speakers will be in any evening session, we'll be playing a pre-recorded interview with the speaker. And then the second hour, the second of the 2-hour session, will be a Q&A session with that speaker. We also have a journalist named Leonard Pitts, who may not be a common name for the folks in the collapse aware crowd that might usually be partaking in this kind of summit. I think you'll find Leonard Pitts an extraordinary man of insight through his journalism, that he's able to see through a lens of inclusivity, equity, bias, racism, and he's just an extraordinary viewer of the world, and again, a thought leader as well. So that's just a partial list, and I'll put up the other names while I'm talking here. So why a trauma summit, and why would somebody want to watch it? Well, again, I know I'm speaking pretty much to the choir, but I want you to know where I've landed is that what we are experiencing is the largest scale event of trauma that humanity has ever had to grapple with. So, when we throw around the word extinction, for instance, which is often thrown around in these days, extinction, I cannot imagine a more violent act than to drive some species to extinction. There are other layers of trauma that I believe that mostly we've come to normalize, so they don't even show up for us like they are traumatic. What I believe that we're going through right now, culturally and politically, is we are seeing the utter destruction of the social fabric, certainly in the USA, of trust, of truth. We are indeed in a post-truth world. And I'm asserting that every one of these is a layer of trauma. And we end up having the daily news be yet another delivery of trauma to our systems. So I hope you will join us for that. It's going to be an extraordinary sharing of toolkits, of inner practices that each of these speakers have for themselves. And it'll be an opportunity to map out in some detail how each of us, for ourselves and inside of our own experience, how we relate to this world and to those waves of trauma. We also have so that's in the month of September, and of course the link for joining us in that trauma summit is in the show notes, and it's also on the screen. In October, we're going to be having our one live event of the year in Ashland, Oregon, October 11 to 14. And this is truly an extraordinary opportunity, something that I know that I look forward to as much or more than anything else we're doing this year. And that is to come together as community, as which Francis Weller might call a temporary village, a momentary village, maybe a sudden community. There are a number of ways to say it, but really what it comes down to is that this is about as good as it gets for most of us, to be able to have a room full of people who are allies, who are kindred spirits in these conversations about the collapse of Earth and human systems, and indeed the predicaments that we face. And to be able to, through ritual, through deep learning, through authentic expression, creativity, and dance and movement and song, we're going to be able to find a place where all of our souls overlap, and perhaps give our souls a chance to come back and breathe some air after what for most of us is an oxygen stolen environment in the regular world. There's still so much resistance to the notion that what we're doing is actually taking down the very shared habitat that we need to be alive. So to be with kindred spirits in that is an extraordinary opportunity. I hope you'll join us for that. And again, the link to be able to sign up for that down in the show notes and on the screen. And you know, the last thing that, again, many of you probably already know, if you aren't already joining us on the Safe Circle calls, on the first, third, and fifth Tuesday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific time, we do Safe Circle calls. And what that means is it's an hour of time when, again, kindred spirits come together and we can share what it's like to be collapse aware in this week's episode of waves of trauma coming through the news cycle. It's a warm, sometimes sharing of grief, sometimes sharing of deep joy, always a sharing of what's real. And I find that extraordinarily refreshing for myself, given that that is not the trend in much of the world, you know, the business as usual world that we all walk through. So again, that's the Safe Circle calls, and that can be found that you can sign up for that if you haven't already to receive the what's called a Zoom call email invitation from us before each call. There's no obligation to come on, and again, no cost. And so you would receive these email invitations a day or two before each call. And those links, that link to that sign up, which is the first page of our website, livingresilience.net. And so right there on the first page, just click on it and put in your name and email address, and you'll be receiving invitations. We'll be doing far more in-depth pieces on trauma, and also sending you some, you know, a few excerpts from some of these speakers and their pre-recorded interviews in the next few days. But I wanted to give you all these pieces all at once, and really hope that you'll join us, consider joining us for any of these or all of these pieces. And really just our warmest blessings and best wishes to us all as we face the most violent and the most extraordinary time of transformation and challenge that human beings have ever had to face. Our best wishes. See you later.